Hi, welcome to the Found Family Trope. I'm your host, Jonas Del Rio, and today we are going to be talking about three different things. Firstly, we'll be talking a little bit about me, who am I, and why am I the greatest host to ever live. Number two, we will be talking about what these weekly podcasts are going to look like, and as number three, we're going to get into a bit of a personal story about somebody who I met on the bus named the letter J, because we are going to keep them anonymous. So, for our first section, hi, I am Jonas Del Rio. I am a second year English student here at Simon Fraser University, SFU, and I am an introvert. I have never been the most social type of person, and that is a problem for this sort of project. You see, I'm in a course called Communications 120, and for this course, we need to promote some sort of project or initiative to foster a sense of community here at Simon Fraser University. I am not the natural choice for this position, but I think that might be why I am the best type of choice for this position. You see, when trying to get other people involved in a community, I worry that we are recruiting the wrong people to do it. Naturally, you'd want an extrovert, right? Because an extrovert can talk to different people. They are already really social, so they have connections and stuff like that. But it's difficult for an introvert like me to sympathize with an extrovert to some degree. So I hope that my sort of wacky, whimsical inexperience with fostering community or, joining clubs, joining tutorials, attending office hours from my professors or TAs, my lack of being good at that is going to be easily reproducible. And that is one of the main goals of the found family trope. Ideally, somebody will watch this podcast, they'll interact with my written reflections online, they'll look at my social media, and they will go, wow, look at what a bad job this person's doing. I can do that easily. And look at how much fun they're having, even though they aren't necessarily the best type of person for this job. That is, in a couple of phrases, the whole point of this project. So, in summary, I'm an introvert. I'm not going to be very good. This is going to be a learning process. I am going to try and get better at podcasting, going to get better at writing, and going to get better at social media usage, just in general. And hopefully, this project will allow me to become a better version of myself, and it will also allow you to come along for the journey if you would so like. Entering our second segment, specifically, what are these podcasts for in the first place? I have three objectives which sort of overlap for that. Firstly, I want to force myself out of my comfort zone and into the SFU community. I have always, as I mentioned, been an introvert, and even though I am happy with my current small social bubble, I do think it would be interesting if I could try and expand that somehow. And this project is kind of the excuse that I've been waiting for. My second reason is that I want to become better at speaking just in general. I don't necessarily have a fear of public speaking. I know that my heart rate increases, which I'm very frustrated about, and I know that sometimes I go too fast when I speak, and I know that I know that a lot. I have some vocal tics which I tend to repeat. And I'm hoping that through the Found Family trope and through these podcasts specifically, I will be able to become a better speaker. As even though I'm an English major, I feel like one of my weakest points regarding my major is oration. Oration, what a strange word. So essentially, I'm hoping that this will make me a better speaker just by throwing myself at it. Just get in there. Give them 5-10 minute podcasts. Of course, you're going to be a better speaker at the end of it. Of course, you're going to be a better speaker at the end of it. there. That was slower, that was better. My last objective, as mentioned a little bit earlier, was that I want to show others that getting involved in the SFU community isn't the hardest thing. So these podcasts will be about somebody or somebodies who I've met at SFU, and I'll refer to them using only the first letter of their name, or maybe I'll lie and use a different letter because I'm spicy, but I will essentially be talking about somebody who I met, something that I did, a little bit of both, and I'm going to reflect on it and then talk about why I think that's important and valuable and how you can potentially use that to integrate yourself more into the SFU community. And that brings us to our third part of the podcast, which is the small personal anecdote about somebody who I met. And for this first podcast, it's a little bit of cheating because this person isn't someone who I met from SFU. I met them on my way home from SFU, actually. Their name starts with a J, so we'll be calling them J. I was riding the 144 home one day, and I have my wireless AirPods. No, I guess they're just AirPods, aren't they? I have my AirPods in, I'm listening to music, passing the time on my 50-minute commute home. And then somebody sits next to me. It happens, grab a bus, whatever. But the dude has I think it was a Sapporo, some sort of beer, just out there. Cracks it open, looks at me. Oh, sorry. Don't worry, I'm on my way home from a long day at work, he says. I don't mind it. I thought that was that, but then he kept on having a conversation with me. And even though I've kind of always had an irrational fear of this sort of moment, I found myself really enjoying it. Jay told me a little bit about how he used to be a AAA hockey player, just like how I'm a hockey goalie. He talked about how his parents were both teachers. I forget if he said they were university teachers or high school teachers, whatever. But he told me they were teachers and that I should pursue education. That's something which I am passionate about, like I mentioned. He mentioned he was coming here from Ontario, bunch of different things. I already missed my stop at this point, so I cut it at an extra 10 minutes to my walk. I finally pulled the yellow wire and I motioned to get up. And, well, stepping off that bus, saying my goodbyes to my dear friend Jay, who I just met for the first time that day, I kind of accepted I wanted to do the found family trope. I wasn't too sure about this project at first. I understand it's quite a bit of work, and my TAs were mentioning that maybe I shouldn't do it. That sounds like a lot. And just knowing myself, I'm always a little bit doubtful about my abilities, so I'm like, do I really want to force myself to go talk to new people? Ew, I'm an introvert. That's so against me. But I think Jay gave me something that day, which I guess you can just call it a conversation. I'm not going to be so grand as to give it some more broader metaphorical meaning, but Jay gave me a conversation that day, and I felt inspired by him to go out and maybe give conversation to other people. So, of course, this is a marked project. I'm not going to lie about that. Of course, it is. I'm an introvert. Unless there's some great event happening in my life, I would never do this normally. But I hope it's interesting, and I hope that this is earnest enough that I won't get the worst mark. Hi, TA, how are you? Or is the professor marking this? I don't actually know. Anyways, we're running out of time. Essentially, after meeting Joe on the bus that day, I kind of realized, I go home every day on the 144 with maybe 20 other people in the bus, and I don't know any of their names. They live in the same community as me, some of them go to the same school as me, and just yesterday or something, somebody lived like 2 streets over from me and I had never met them before. But I don't know them. And while that's natural in today's world, I also think it's a bit sad. So I hope that through the found family trope, I will be able to extend my possibilities to reach out and connect with more people. We're closer than we think, aren't we? Haha, the catchphrase. So, that brings us to an end of the first podcast recording. I am going to do some research on how to give podcasts better, but this is going to be a learning experience, isn't it? Um, Hopefully that wasn't the worst thing to listen to. I should be nicer to myself. That was the greatest thing you've ever heard, and the greatest 11 minutes you've ever spent. Oh my gosh, I'm so cool, aren't I? But yes, thank you for tuning in. We're closer than we think, and I'll see you next week for another podcast recording of the Found Family Trope. I've been your host, Jonas, and take care.